All right, welcome everybody to another episode of The Debt Life with me, Chad Van Horn. Today's topic is a question I get asked all the time. Am I too young? Am I too old to file for bankruptcy? Well, right off the bat, there's actually no age limit to file for bankruptcy. If you have debt, if you have a social security number that's tied to it, you're eligible to file for bankruptcy. But is it the best thing to do? That's really the question, and that's the question I get all the time. Before we get into that, I want to hit a couple current events, hot topics. Obviously, stimulus checks are going out. Make sure that you're checking the Treasury website to see if you're getting those stimulus checks. There's going to be an updated stimulus check, whether it's $1,000, $1,400. We're not sure who's qualifying for that as well. So stay tuned for more information on that during our next episode. Also, student loan forgiveness. You've heard probably $10,000, $50,000. We're hearing many different numbers. We don't know who qualifies yet. There is a proposal to have student loans dischargeable in bankruptcy as well. So nothing's moved forward yet. As soon as it is, you'll definitely hear it here first. I want to give a shout out to Anna Lee, who's been with us for 1 year, and Laverne, who's been my right hand for about 6 years now, 6 years today with the firm. So congratulations to you guys. Had a lot of big wins at the firm this week. Shout out to the Chapter 11 team who's working on an appeal right now. Shout out to Melissa, who just won a big evidentiary hearing that we just got the result from. So a lot of good things happening for our clients and for the people that work here. So going back to, am I too old? Am I too young to file for bankruptcy? Again, age really is not a determining factor that often. I will get into when there's certain times where you really don't have to file because you're judgment proof, as people call it. That's a misnomer because you're not really judgment proof. You can't get judgments against you. It's just you may be collection proof. And I'll explain that a little later. But let's jump into too young to file for bankruptcy. I've actually represented people that are 18 years old in bankruptcy. And obviously when people are considering bankruptcy, they're not in an ideal situation. So we take the facts as they're presented to us, and usually when somebody is that young filing bankruptcy, it usually involves a car accident or some other type of accident where they didn't have proper insurance. And in Florida, if you don't have proper insurance and you cause a car accident, they can actually suspend your driver's license. And obviously, if you have a suspended driver's license, it's hard to get around in South Florida on public transportation. It's hard to get to work. And some of these judgments can be tens of thousands or hundreds of thousands of dollars, and they just sit with you forever. So in a scenario like that, bankruptcy is a good option to not only get rid of the debt, but get your license back pretty quickly. Generally speaking, after filing the bankruptcy, we get your license back within a week. The worst thing that you can do, and I've had some clients admit to me that they're just driving on a suspended license, which obviously then that becomes criminal, and then you can end up in jail, which we certainly don't want to turn a civil issue into a criminal issue. So make sure if you do have a suspended license, don't drive. Let's figure out a way to figure it out. Another reason why younger people in general are looking at filing bankruptcy is student loans. Student loans are eating into their day-to-day income, and they're taking a big chunk out of it where people can't afford rent, can't afford the credit card payments. You can only go in deferment or forbearance so long without them coming after it. So the student loans really eat into any of that reserve fund that younger people might normally have because they're paying so much in student loans. So when you're dealing with student loans, the income-driven repayment programs for the federal student loans are great. With the private student loans, they really don't have that many options. You may want to try to reduce the interest rate or figure things out. Thank you for the questions. I'm definitely going to address the questions as we go on. So thank you, Lydia, for posting a question there. So let's go into some other reasons why the younger generation may be filing. A top reason, high credit card debt. If you had a certain income at one point, your credit was really good, you got a lot of credit, and then COVID hits and you lose your job. Maybe you were a bartender, maybe you worked in the restaurant industry or the service industry, and things just got shut down. So you had to live off your credit. Now that you're getting back into working and making money again, the credit with the interest rate's just too much. So what we recommend for that is first try to work with your credit card companies, reach out to them, try to lower the interest rates. People talk about the snowball versus the avalanche approach, basically snowball. You're paying off those smaller balances. Avalanche, you're trying to pay off the higher interest. Whatever works for you, that's what I go with. To me, it's like working out. Some people like to do CrossFit. Some people like to run. Whatever works for you, do it. And obviously, if neither of those work for you, that's when you need to start looking at bankruptcy and other options. You need to put a realistic plan together for that. So let's answer a couple questions real quick. Michael, thanks for watching. Can IRS take my return for a student loan? Actually, yes, the IRS can offset the student loan. The Department of Education can offset and take your refunds. So be careful with that. They can also garnish your wages. Lydia, I use my credit cards to survive college. I'm graduating, but I don't see a realistic way to stay afloat. Can bankruptcy help? Yes, bankruptcy can help. So really, you want to go over your options to see if bankruptcy is the best option. By the way, bankruptcy is not a life sentence. So especially if you're just graduating college and you're younger, I'm seeing my clients in about 18 to 24 months back in around a 700 credit score. We actually help people and enroll them into 720creditscore.com. Shout out to Phil, to help people get back after bankruptcy. So it's not a life sentence. It's not a 7-year sentence, a 10-year sentence, anything like that. There are ways to rebuild. And with COVID, so many people are struggling. You should know your options so that you can clear the deck, rebuild, and get yourself back on track after this. So another thing that I'm seeing people resort to, because it's really out of desperation, it's payday loans and these online lenders where you borrow $500 and you end up paying back $1,200, and they're automatically hitting your bank account or hitting your paycheck. Try to avoid that. Try to plan better if you can, because it's really just lost money that you're giving away. Even when you go to those check cashing stores, you're always paying to access your own money. So try to eliminate interest. Try to eliminate all these little fees, because they add up, and it's taking your money, and you're already paying taxes. Other things are already coming out of your pay. So try to get rid of any interest, any fees, anything that you have control over, so that you don't have to worry about that moving forward. Let's move forward. We have a couple success stories that we'd like to go through. One was from Nick on I believe this was actually on Facebook. If I knew how to post it, I would show you guys it. But here, I'll give you a quick look. That's Nick with his dog, happy after we were able to get him debt free. I'll just read this through real quick. I decided to file bankruptcy while working down South Florida. Called a couple other places and was giving the runaround to call associates and other attorneys entirely. I saw Van Horn Law Group's billboard and made the call and was guided through a very easy and manageable step-by-step process. Never had to go to the office, but could have met in person if he wanted to. He did literally everything from his smartphone, and he was on the way to the Chapter 7 that was just filed. They made everything so easy and were there for me through each step, and I definitely recommend them to anyone planning on taking this route. They even offer payment plans. So obviously Nick's younger. He had some issues that we worked through. Very happy with the results, already rebuilding. And he has an awesome dog, and he's on the beach, so he's living the good life. So the good thing about Van Horn Law Group, we have people of all age that work here. Anyone from their early 20s or 18 that are interning to we have some employees that are pushing in their 70s. So whatever you're going through, somebody in our firm probably can relate to it. So if you're tech savvy, and if you prefer to do everything online through your smartphone, we can make that happen. If you prefer the old school approach, which actually I do, of coming in, scanning the documents, we'll make that happen as well. Obviously, with COVID, we're taking extra careful restrictions as far as wearing safeguards, make sure we're doing extra levels of cleaning, and we're separating our staff. So when you come in, we'll be able to make that happen for you. So let's go to a couple more questions before we get into too old to file, because I got a good story with that as well. Millie, how long after discharge can you apply for a home loan? So technically, you can apply for a home loan immediately after your case is closed, which is generally speaking about 3 to 4 months after filing. Realistically, I tell my clients 12 to 18 months if you're looking for traditional financing. The FHA will back a mortgage 24 months after your bankruptcy filing. So it's 24 months from the filing date, not the discharge date. if everything else is in line, as far as your income, your financial profile, and then you rebuilt following our process or a process that was successful, you can probably start looking in 12 to 18 months, and by 24 months, you should be good to go at that point. So thank you for that question, Millie. That's really important. All right, too old to file. So a story I'm going to tell a little later. I actually represented a couple World War II veterans. Shout out to Mission United, which does a fantastic job referring pro bono clients that are former military or current military that we take care of. But hearing the stories of these World War II veterans are fantastic. It's incredible that they survived the war to end all wars, but they go through these recessions and COVID and everything, and unfortunately, we have to deal with some debt for them. So the number one reason that I'm seeing right now is that the older generations coming in is Social Security overpayment. So basically, what Social Security will do is if they'll keep paying you, and then if you didn't properly report your income, or they find that they overpaid you, they'll come back to you and say, hey, we overpaid you over 10 years, over 5 years, $47,000. Please pay us. There are ways to try to negotiate with them, to work out payment plans, claim hardship. But another way to deal with that is filing bankruptcy. Filing bankruptcy will actually discharge that Social Security overpayment debt, as long as there was no fraud and there's other standards to that. But I'm getting a ton of phone calls. I'd say multiple phone calls every week on that. Another thing that we're seeing, especially in South Florida, is the cost of living just continues to go up, and the earning power is just not there. The jobs aren't there, and maybe the Social Security is not covering it, or there wasn't enough saved for retirement. Third reason I'm seeing people come in is medical debt. If you don't have proper health insurance, you have health scares, obviously through COVID and other things. If the health insurance isn't going to take care of it, one day in the hospital, you could owe thousands and thousands or tens of thousands of dollars. Also, with regards to medical debt, if you already are in debt, I'm seeing a lot of people are stressed out from the phone calls, from the letters that they're receiving, and that's causing health issues for you. So if you're in debt, try to find a healthy way to deal with it, whether it's bankruptcy or otherwise, or that's going to weigh on you, and that's going to cause some health issues that will potentially put you out of work, cause you more medical debt, and then cause more issues. Also, I'm seeing a lot of the older generation trying to take care of family, children. We have many people that unfortunately their children or grandchildren maybe have gone through addiction or other issues, and they were trying to take care and pay everything they can to get them into a rehab facility or take care of them otherwise, and they really buried themselves in debt. And that way we have to go through and either negotiate or file bankruptcy to clear that out. So obviously, family comes first. You got to take care of your family. If you end up in a situation like that, just make sure that you get help dealing with the debt afterwards. Let's go to a quick question. Jonathan, my family needs financial relief from bankruptcy, but I don't want my spouse to be included. Is that possible? Nice guns, by the way. That's a good picture. So yes, you can file individually if the debt is just in your name and you're not a co-borrower on the debt. Then your spouse does not need to be included. In 2005, they amended the bankruptcy code to look at household income and household expenses. If the income is over a certain number, you may have to do a Chapter 13, where you pay a portion of the debt over a 36 to 60 month period, and then you receive a discharge of whatever's left over, versus the Chapter 7, where you receive the discharge, generally speaking, pretty quickly in 3 to 4 months. So. All right, another question here. I started a savings account for my kids since they were born. It has a significant amount. What happens to the savings if I file? So it really depends on what kind of account that is. If it's just a straight savings account, children under the age of 18 actually cannot own property. So that technically would be your account, and that money would be subject to turnover to creditors or in bankruptcy. There are certain types of accounts that you can set up for the benefit of your children. They're similar to trust. If you do an account like that where you have consistent money going in, that could be protected. Or if it's for schooling, you certainly can protect that as well. So Florida has some programs where if you go to a Florida school, you can put money into that and that won't be touched. So thank you for that question. Yeah, please keep asking questions. I want to make sure this is relevant to you guys. So if you have any questions on this, certainly let me know. And then finally, which I'm seeing in an older generation as well, is issues with the mortgage. I see a lot of reverse mortgages come in where people didn't pay or weren't able to pay their taxes, weren't able to pay insurance, and that is a violation of the reverse mortgage. So that can put you into mortgage foreclosure. Most people don't realize that when you take a reverse mortgage, you just think you can live there and there won't be any issues, and that normally is the case. But if you don't pay taxes, if you don't pay insurance, if you violate the mortgage in some other way, then they certainly can foreclose, unfortunately. Now, one of the chapters in the Debt Life book, which I should have one around here, but if you go to thedebtlife.com, you can purchase one. If you really want one, you can also email me. I'll send you one out. One of the chapters was a World War II veteran, and she served in the women's infantry back then. And I got a whole lesson about what they were doing up in DC, and she had great stories. She fell behind on her bills because she was taking care of family. She had some family issues that she was dealing with, and she had all this debt. She came in. She said, "Well, I'm in my 90s. Do I really need to file bankruptcy?" And I said, "Well, I looked through her assets. All of her assets were exempt. Her income was Social Security and retirement. That was all exempt." I said, "Well, you don't have to file bankruptcy. Why are you considering it?" And she said, "Well, I'm tired of being harassed by phone calls. I'm being sued. They're asking for depositions. I don't want to show up for a deposition," which they're allowed. Creditors, especially once they get a judgment, they're allowed to continue to ask for documents and ask you to show up for things. So I said, in that scenario, it actually makes sense to file bankruptcy because we can clear everything out. She wasn't really worried about rebuilding her credit. She just wanted to live the rest of her life in peace without having her phone ring and letters coming in and process servers coming to her house. And we offer pro bono services for veterans through the Mission United program. Thanks again, James Heaton, for setting that up and all you do, and everybody with regards to Mission United. So it really wasn't a lot of work from our end as far as getting it taken care of. She didn't have a ton of debt. Just the debt that she had was being pretty aggressive towards her. We were able to get the court fee waived because she was below the poverty limit, or 1.5 times the poverty limit. And the case was done in about 3 months. And she left a great review saying that it was just so relaxing afterwards, not having her phone ring and not having to deal with it. So we have tons of success stories like that. If you are struggling with debt, if you're struggling with anxiety because of debt, stress, talk to somebody that's an expert on this. We give free consultations all the time. We make it as easy as possible. I have a really cool webcam here that we can talk through Skype, Google Chat, whatever you want to do, or if you want to do it over the phone, want to come into the office, whatever works for you, we're going to make it work. Our goal is to make sure that you're taken care of and that you don't have to stress about it. So, whether you're in your 20s, protecting yourself from a garnishment, 50s, to try to get a discharge of credit card debt, 70s, 80s, 90s, getting rid of Social Security debt, Chapter 7 can give you that relief and give you that relief very quickly. Even some IRS debt is dischargeable if it's old enough, generally speaking, over 3 years old, and there wasn't fraud involved and it was regarding income. Oh, Tanya, we got a couple more questions. I'm sorry, I'm falling behind here. So Tanya, can I purchase a home if I file bankruptcy? Absolutely. You certainly can purchase a home if you file bankruptcy. As I said, generally speaking, 12 to 18 months to get your credit back up to where you can qualify. I've had some aggressive clients rebuild their credit faster than that and qualify for a mortgage. Much of that falls on your financial profile as far as income as well. So bankruptcy sometimes helps rebuild your credit and gets you a better debt to income ratio if we can clear out the debt. So Millie, is 32 too young to file? Honestly, it's hard to tell. I would say no. There's many people that have filed younger than 32. I believe Walt Disney actually filed younger than 32, and you see what he built. Sometimes it's better to get that fresh start early, and then you can focus on other things that are more important. Your next adventure, your next business, your next your family, and you can put money into that and get that restart. So bankruptcy is really good for entrepreneurs as well. For you're taking that chance, you're putting yourself out there, you're starting a business, and then something like COVID shuts down your business. So it really depends on your individual situation. So don't think that you should or shouldn't just because you read on a website or you heard a discussion like this. You really want to know what's best for you. So you want to have somebody like me or somebody that you trust that understands the bankruptcy code and the options with regards to debt. Talk to you, learn about your goals, learn about what you want to accomplish, and then put a plan together from that. It's really, really straightforward if you know what you're doing. And we've done this thousands of times. I think we're at like case number 5,000 at this point. So. And that's just bankruptcy cases. Obviously, we do debt negotiation, loan modifications, workouts, and everything else. So, some more questions here. Jesse, due to COVID hardship, I've been in forbearance for the last year. My relief ends in March, and I cannot afford my last due payments. Can I save my home? Absolutely. There's ways to save your home. So, what we normally recommend for something like that is talking to the bank directly first, trying to work out some sort of loan modification. Where they lower the interest rate, put the payments on the back end, or something like that. If that doesn't work out, Chapter 13 bankruptcy works great for saving the home as well, where you can get caught up on those back payments over a 36 to 60-month period while reinstating your old payments. So there are certainly ways to save your home. The good thing in Florida, it's a judicial foreclosure state, so it's not like they just, once you're in default and the forbearance runs out, your house goes up for sale. There is a judicial process that does take time, and there are safeguards in place to save your family home. So, Lexi, all the vehicles my family drives are in my name. So how can I file bankruptcy and protect all of our cars? That happens a lot. I realize that family members, I think, go to the family member with the best credit, and we say, hey, let's just put all the cars in your name. Be careful with that too, because if somebody gets in an accident driving a car that's in your name, you are actually liable for that. Especially if you didn't have the proper insurance. So the judgment would go against the owner and the driver at the time. So be very careful with that. Try to get the vehicles out of your name if they really all are in your name. But going through bankruptcy and dealing with that, if the vehicles are in your name, you have a $1,000 vehicle exemption in bankruptcy, $5,000 worth of personal property and wildcard that you can apply to vehicles as well. When you're figuring out how much equity that you have in a vehicle, you basically take the value of the vehicle, subtract it from any liens. So if you have a lien on the vehicle, if you have a car payment, you subtract that out. That'll be the equity. You can protect up to $6,000 worth of equity. If you're above that number, you have two options. One, you can make a deal with the Chapter 7 trustee, or two, we could do a Chapter 13 where you pay basically that amount over a 36 to 60-month period, so you save the vehicles. There's a ton of ways that you can work with the vehicles in a Chapter 13 as well to lower payments and everything like that. If you have a leased vehicle, generally speaking, that's not an asset, so you just continue to pay your lease. You'll be able to keep it. If you have one of those leases where you pay for 36 months up front and then you don't have any car payment, then obviously that would be an asset. So you need to be careful with that. So great question. Keep those questions coming. As I said earlier, don't be scared of the bankruptcy system. Obviously, when people come into my office, we're not dealing with an ideal situation. We're dealing with debt that you cannot pay. It's good to know all your options, even if you're not going to exercise the option. It's good to know, okay, what's my bankruptcy option look like? What's my debt negotiation look like? What's trying a consolidation loan look like? Just go through all the options, figure out what options you have, and then make the best decision based on your specific scenario. I'm happy to go through anything that you guys want. Please ask as many questions You can ask them on Facebook. You can email me directly at chad@cvhlawgroup.com. You certainly can go to vanhornlawgroup.com where there's helpful information, or contact the office at 954-637-0000. I think that too many zeros, 4 zeros. 954-637-0000. We have free consultations, night, day, morning, weekends. I've been here I've been here every Saturday that the office has been open since October. Planning on taking a Saturday off here for my anniversary in 3 weeks. Can't believe it's already been 1 year. Love you, Gabriella. And we have 2 books, The Debt Life, and that's the personal impact stories that I wrote about, and then Bankruptcy in Florida, which does a good job breaking down the process for people in Florida. Thanks again for joining me in this episode of The Debt Life. I hope these topics are fruitful and helpful for your lives. As always, I wish you the best, and don't forget to check back in a couple weeks for the newest episode of The Debt Life. Thanks again, guys.